Well, fellas, today we got quite a treat. And this is courtesy of the Lock-Picking Lawyer. He sent me 2 registered U.S. mail locks. These things are antiques. I've never seen one before other than on eBay. Sometimes they're priced quite high, particularly if they come with keys. The neat thing about these is it has a little built-in counter. So every time you open this thing and turn it, the shackle is interlocked. So when you rotate it around the axis here, it does a complete rotation, and every time you do that, it racks up 1 count. So in the scheme of things, this is practically a brand new lock with only 93 openings. It goes up to $9,999. So it's got built-in obsolescence. At $9,999, there's a gear inside that prevents it from being used ever again. So whoever designed these things was really using their head. Guaranteed to sell the post office a lot of these things. Anyway, let's take a look at this. When I flipped it up, as I said, I've never seen one before. So the first thing I said, well, that's got to be the keyhole. And I started trying to feel around inside of there, and I couldn't find any pins on either side. And it's just very slick. So, well, maybe it's a dimple. So again, I explored both faces of this. Nothing. So I pull out a light and see if we can get it to focus for you. Down inside of there, in the depths of this well, you can see a pin on the very bottom of this thing, further than it even occurred to me to reach. So I took the pick, and literally you've got to push this guy in to the full depth, and then you can feel 3 pins in the very bottom. They're all very tightly tensioned, so it would really be easy to miss them. So anyway, a 3-pinner for registered mail. I guess because they have a counter, they felt that was all that was necessary. But let's see if we can clamp this thing up and figure out how to pick it open. All right, guys. This took a little longer than I thought. It's a little harder to pick than I thought because it takes a tremendous amount of pressure. I didn't want to break anything. I didn't want to break the lock, and I certainly didn't want to break my pick. But there are 3 pins in the bottom, and you've got to put some tremendous pressure on these things. And I do have to return the lock to Lock-Picking Lawyer, so I didn't want to break it. So let's see if we can make it happen again. All right, I'm going to use, if you have a 32,000th pick or a crowbar that'll fit into the slot, I advise you to use it. All right, moderate tension, and slide it literally to about the maximum that you can put it with that pick, and then feel around. So pin 2 is the binder, and he's the easy one. Then I got a slight turn on the core. Pin 3 is the next one, and he's pretty easy too. Now comes the fun. Now I got to find pin 3, which is the very deepest one, and then I got to put extraordinary amount of pressure on him. And I got to turn on the cord. Starting to turn now. Let me back up here. Just let me go ahead and take this out of the vise. It is turning, so I can probably let it go. It is not spring-loaded because I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, when we start turning it, it's already started to unlock the shackle. So if I turn the shackle, you can see it's going to turn that keyway as well. But here's the fun part. When we turn over here, it racks it up 1 more count. Isn't that something amazing? Well, how does it do that? Well, luckily, let me set all this down. The Lock-Picking Lawyer sent another one secured with a rubber band. So when you pop the rubber band off, if you're careful, and I will be this time, now that I know what to expect, this shell comes off because he's drilled out the retaining plate that used to be right here. You can see on the original, I don't know if they're soldered in place or brazed in place, but when you pull it off very carefully, let me turn this down. Let me determine which side we got to work with. Okay, this is the side that has the pins. You can see the first pin, the deepest one right there. I'm going to put my finger over the top of that, and there's another spring that pops out. That's the one that stops it from rotating too much. And now you can start to see there's your 3 pins, and there's the one that locks the locking pawl. And if I'm careful, I can pull this off without all the wheels coming off. Now, there are a couple parts there. This is the part that goes on the very top, the plate that kind of holds everything together. You pull that off. There's another plate here When you turn the shackle, you'll notice that this one is indexed. In other words, it has some flat sides. Come off there, you devil. And he has a little tooth in one side that digs into the discs. The discs are all interlocking. They're all nylon or plastic, which I did not expect in a lock this old. So they all pop off. Oops. And then when we get to the very bottom, you can see the teeth. Now that's why I didn't pull these out yet. You can see right here where the pins are to pick, and then the locking bar, which is right there, is the one that keeps it from backing up. So let me go ahead and pull out the locking pin first. Let me get a penny tray here. So a really long pinning, locking pin, and then these three guys. Let me pull them out. 1, 2, and 3. These are some of the longest driver pins and key pins I think I have ever seen. All right, so there's a key pin. This is a key pin. The rounded end's right there. And that is the key pin. This is the one that was giving us so much trouble. I don't know why, because he's the shortest pin. Anyway, he had to go the deepest. Perhaps that's what it was. Only 3 pins. Now let's take a look at the mechanism. The locking pin goes in right there, and it keeps that from backing up. So if we drop that little guy in there, it prevents you from reversing the counter and going the other way. So that's how that one works. And then when I rotate this all the way around, let me dump him back out so we can rotate it. You can see the 3 chambers inside of the core. So very cool lock. Somebody put an awful lot of thought in this. I hate to think what the U.S. government paid for these back in probably the 1920s or so. I'm sure they cost like $9,000 or maybe $10,000. But anyway, there you go, guys. The registered U.S. mail lock from LockPickingLawyer. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the loan of these locks. I will try to put everything back together right and get it back to you. Everybody else, stay safe, guys. Stay legal.